Today's video will be a complete guide on how to play mid lane in Mobile Legends. If you're a mage player and you're tired of losing games even when you play well, stay until the end, because this guide was made especially for you. Here, I'll help you understand how to truly impact the game, improve your decision-making, and even carry matches while playing in the mid lane. A lot of players think playing mid lane is just about clearing waves and trying to gank another lane, but the reality goes far beyond that. The mid laner is one of the most important roles on the team because of their quick access to almost every area of the map. That means your presence throughout the match can completely determine the pace of the game. Playing mid is about much more than simply dealing damage. You need to control rotations, help secure objectives, pressure the map, protect your teammates, and be present during the most important moments of the match. In many situations, a good rotation is far more valuable than simply getting a kill. Another important point is that there isn't just one correct way to play mid lane. This role requires a lot of personality and adaptation. In some matches, you'll need to play much more aggressively, constantly pressuring the enemy and creating space for your team. In other situations, you'll need to play more carefully, prioritizing positioning and safety to avoid unnecessary mistakes. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you in this video. How to make better decisions in every stage of the match and find the easiest path to victory. Here, I'll explain what you should do during each phase of the game to positively impact your team, show you how to improve your rotations, positioning, and map presence, and also point out simple mistakes that hold many players back and can easily cost you the game. So get ready, because this guide might completely change the way you play mages. With that said, let's get into the guide. Early game. The early game is the opening phase of the match and takes place during the first 5 minutes of the game. This is one of the most important stages for mid lane players because it's where you begin building your advantage throughout the match. During this period, mid lane waves only contain 4 normal minions, without the siege minions found in the side lanes. This exists so mages can clear waves faster and gain more time to rotate around the map. To have a strong early game and start the match with an advantage, there are several extremely important decisions you need to make, and now I'm going to help you understand each one of them. At the start of the match, always keep in mind that your first major objective will be the turtle, which spawns at the 2-minute mark. To impact this fight as effectively as possible, you should ideally already be level 4 with your ultimate unlocked, since that ability makes a huge difference during the first teamfights. And here's a very important detail. You need to secure every minion before the first turtle spawns in order to reach level 4. At the beginning of the match, avoid pushing too far forward in lane. Many players like to hide in the side bushes and try to catch the enemy mid laner off guard during the very first wave. Dying at this stage is a disaster because, besides losing farm and experience, you will most likely miss level 4 for the turtle fight and fall behind the enemy mid laner in both gold and EXP. Because of that, the safest option early on is usually to maintain safe positioning and use your skills to secure last hits on minions. Another very effective strategy is asking your roamer to help clear the wave quickly, creating extra time for rotations or map plays. Just like you need every minion to reach level 4, the enemy mid laner depends on that as well. Together with your roamer, you can pressure the enemy and force them to miss 1 or 2 minions. In many situations, that alone is enough to deny their level 4 before the turtle fight. Sometimes you can even do this alone, but it's much riskier since you may get ganked from the side bushes. To execute this kind of play safely, paying close attention to the minimap is absolutely essential. Another extremely common mistake is when mid laners rotate to the gold lane and stay there for too long alongside the ADC. Now let's understand why this is usually a terrible decision. When you leave mid lane unattended for too long, you lose waves, experience, and gold. And depending on the situation, you may even lose your turret. On top of that, spending too much time in gold lane steals part of your marksman's farm, putting them behind the enemy ADC. That doesn't mean ganking gold lane is wrong. On the contrary, you absolutely can and should gank any lane whenever there's a good opportunity. The problem is abandoning your lane completely to do it. Ideally, you should clear your wave quickly, rotate, and return in time for the next wave. Another important detail is that the best moment to gank any lane is usually when there are still minion waves present. If the enemy already cleared the wave, they will simply back off, greatly reducing the value of the gank. During the turtle fight, avoid exposing yourself too much, especially against compositions with strong pick-off potential. In these situations, you will usually be one of the enemy team's main targets, so maintaining proper positioning is essential. If you manage to eliminate an enemy or force someone to recall before the objective fight starts, the contest becomes much easier for your team. But remember, it won't always be possible to fight for the turtle. In some games, you may have died beforehand. Your jungler or roamer may be on the opposite side of the map, or the enemy composition may simply have a much stronger setup for the objective. In these situations, the best decision is often to give up the objective and look for advantages elsewhere on the map. And remember, losing one turtle does not mean losing the game. The objective respawns every 2 minutes until the 8-minute mark, so there will still be several opportunities to recover your advantage. After the first turtle, the game becomes much more dynamic. Unlike the very beginning of the match, there will be moments where giving up 1 or 2 minions is worth it if there's a clear opportunity to make an aggressive play with your team. Everything will depend on your decision-making. And of course, you won't always choose the perfect play. But with better map awareness, game understanding, and mastery of your hero, your decisions will naturally improve over time. Mid-game. The mid-game is the second phase of the match and takes place between the 5 and 12-minute mark. During this stage, mid-lane waves start functioning the same way as side-lane waves. They now contain 2 normal minions and 1 siege minion. And here's something extremely important you need to understand. Even though your lane is the middle lane, you cannot stay stuck there like a marksman would. Your role as a mid laner is to constantly be present in fights, dealing damage, applying crowd control, and helping your team with rotations. In practice, you function almost like a second roamer, except with much higher damage and far lower durability. By the mid-game, almost every player already has their ultimate unlocked. This drastically increases the danger of moving around the map, because even the smallest positioning mistake can instantly result in your death. When returning to your lane, avoid walking through the central bushes or side corridors of the map. If you didn't know, these areas are commonly called the death corridors. It's extremely easy to get caught and eliminated there, and chances are it has already happened to you many times before. Even if the safer route takes a little longer, it's still much faster than dying and spending several seconds waiting to respawn. Just like these areas are dangerous for you, they can also be used to your advantage. Take advantage of bushes to ambush unsuspecting enemies. One of the best moments to catch the enemy mid-laner is when they're returning from a gank or rotating back from the side lanes. Use that timing to surprise and burst them down quickly. And it's not just the death corridors that are dangerous. During the mid-game, practically every bush on the map can hide a threat. Avoid walking alone through areas without vision, especially isolated parts of the map. Many players end up dying for free simply because they ignore this detail. Always try to move together with your roamer and avoid walking ahead of them. Wait for the right moment to play aggressively. Some mages also have abilities capable of safely checking bushes. Using these skills consistently will greatly improve your survivability during matches. At the 8-minute mark, the first major decisive objective of the game appears: the Lord. This objective is extremely important because it provides massive pressure for taking down turrets. Because of that, always pay attention to the timer and avoid dying shortly before the Lord spawns. Contesting this objective without your mid laner usually puts your team at a huge disadvantage, mainly because of the missing AoE damage and crowd control during the fight. During the objective fight, maintain the same discipline you had during turtle fights. Protect your positioning and avoid exposing yourself unnecessarily. Your main objective will almost always be to eliminate or pressure enemy carries such as mages, marksmen, and assassins. Once those heroes fall first, the enemy team loses a huge portion of its damage, making the objective much easier to secure. Depending on the mage you are playing, it may not even be necessary to directly focus on killing someone. In many situations, using your abilities to zone enemies away from the Lord can be even more valuable for your team. And remember, just like with the turtle, you won't always win the fight for the Lord. The most important thing is to stay calm, reset the game state, and prepare for the next objective. Late game. During the late game, your role will remain practically the same, but now even the smallest mistake can cost your team the entire match. At this stage of the game, marksmen, mages, and assassins already deal massive amounts of damage, which means a single positioning mistake can instantly get you killed. On top of that, every death becomes far more impactful because respawn timers are extremely long during the late game. Even so, your responsibilities remain mostly unchanged. As a mid laner, you usually are not the one directly setting the pace of the game, but rather the player who follows your team's movements and constantly provides support through damage and crowd control. The biggest difference is that your awareness now needs to be doubled. In the late game, staying alive becomes one of your highest priorities. Basically, you should constantly stay close to your team, especially your roamer and jungler, while dealing damage, applying crowd control, and participating in fights with extreme attention to positioning. Punishing enemies for positioning mistakes becomes incredibly important during moments when there are no active objectives on the map. Eliminating an enemy carry just a few seconds before the Lord spawns, for example, can completely swing the objective fight in your team's favor. Always try to stay close to your roamer and jungler because they are usually the players who dictate the pace of the match. It won't matter if they start an aggressive play while you are on the opposite side of the map clearing waves alone. Another essential point is hiding your position on the map whenever possible so you don't become an easy target. As mentioned earlier, you will be one of the enemy team's top priorities because you are one of your team's main damage sources. Avoid unnecessarily showing yourself on waves or revealing your position during important moments of the match. The more information you give the enemy team, the easier it becomes for them to create a play to eliminate you. In many situations, simply making the enemy unsure about your location already creates huge psychological pressure during the game. Overall, the most important thing during the late game is staying alive, being present during team fights, and maintaining safe positioning while supporting your team through damage and crowd control. Many times, surviving and playing a team fight patiently is far more valuable than forcing an overly aggressive play and getting eliminated before the fight even begins. And that's the end of the video. To everyone who watched until the very end, I truly want to thank you for the support and for staying with me throughout this guide. I sincerely hope this content helped you better understand the role of a good mid laner, and most importantly, gave you a clearer and more strategic view of how to play mid lane. A lot of players think playing mid is only about clearing waves and chasing kills, but as we saw throughout the video, this role requires much more decision-making, positioning, map awareness, and teamfight presence than most people realize. If you can apply even part of these tips in your matches, I'm sure your gameplay will improve a lot over time. So don't forget to leave a like, comment what you thought about the guide, and share it with that friend who always blames the team whenever they lose lane. That really helps the channel and motivates me to keep bringing complete guides like this. This channel is full of Mobile Legends content, including a playlist with complete tutorials for various heroes. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.